Aloha. Stick here. Thank you very much, Stephen, for your kind introduction. It's a privilege to be able to be here to join all of you for this kickoff of what will be the annual Millennial Action Project gathering here. I was really very happy to become involved with this organization a little over a year ago with one of my colleagues, Schock, and to see such a great synergy in things that we were discussing here in Congress, things that we were getting frustrated about, and to find this diverse organization that we could partner with, really to engage a broader network of people. You know, I hear, as many of you do, a lot of times about people complaining about so-called millennials, saying that this is a generation that is more disengaged, this is a generation that is more self-centered, more concerned about their own personal futures or ambitions rather than looking outwards. But as you know, many of these things are simply not true. We've got to look at the root cause. We've got to look at some of the challenges and some of the reasons why people perceive this and why there is such great frustration. Schock and I kind of started to become friends and talk in our early morning workouts. Coming from different parties, we started with a foundation of friendship, with a foundation that's based on real people. And unfortunately, that's something that often gets lost, especially here in this town, where so easily you have people who see the other side, see those who disagree with them as the enemy or someone who must be defeated, rather than someone that you should actually reach out to and start to have a conversation with. Erin and I started having those conversations, and those conversations continue. They started around realizing that we were frustrated about much of the same things. We found many common elements in our own upbringings, in our own stories. Erin has an incredible background. He started out as an entrepreneur as a teenager, doing some very impressive things. You'll hear more from him a little bit later. But what we found common, I think, which is common in our generation as a whole, whether you're involved in politics, whether you're involved in business, in starting your own business, if you're in education or healthcare or any sector, I think some of the things that are most common are the innovative spirit, the can-do attitude, and the desire to get results. What we have found here, especially at this place, was our commonality in saying, look, the status quo is unacceptable. Many more people are telling us, no, that can't be done, rather than saying, okay, you've got a good idea, let's find a way. And understanding that with the challenges that we have here, with the challenges that we see both in our political system, in our communities, and in our economy, the challenges are real, and the challenges are great. But rather than look over our shoulder and play the blame game at someone else, to say who is the cause of this, we should do that to learn from those lessons, but recognize that those challenges really are our opportunities. Those challenges present the opportunity and remind us of the responsibility that our generation has to step up to the plate, to step up and be the leaders that our community, our states, our country actually needs to set us up for success for the next generation. This is my first term in Congress. Thankfully, the people of Hawaii have sent me back here for a second term to continue working for them. But one of the things that I found over the last 2 years here, as Congress attempted to pass some very large pieces of legislation, the Farm Bill, which eventually successfully passed through much pain and agony, but others that did not pass. As we were looking through these pieces of legislation, one of the things I found is these were written initially back a generation ago, in the 1940s, the 1950s. And I use that example, it was to serve a certain purpose, a certain agricultural community. Back then, had been amended and changed, obviously over years and years, not reauthorized. But all of the panic that set in around this bill not passing, not being reauthorized, was that if it would then revert back to its original state, which had no connection to the world that we live in today. And what to speak of saying, hey, here's an opportunity to look at this vast piece of legislation and not say, how do we fill the potholes and put all the Band-Aids over the bad bits, but actually say, how do we revamp this and look towards what's not only happening tomorrow, but what's going to be happening in the next 10 and 20 and 30 years, looking to all of the opportunity that we have and the potential and the innovation and the ideas that we have all across the country. So this is kind of was the catalyst for Aaron and I to form this Future Caucus, both to gather colleagues of ours of like mind who were more interested from both parties, who are more interested in getting results, who are more interested in saying, how do we build credibility within our own caucuses, within the House, to be able to be that force for finding compromise. A lot of the partisan divide that you see on the outside is real, and it provides very real obstacles to getting things done. We see it every time we start talking about passing a budget or anything that is of major consequence, immigration reform. There are so many different examples. And I was asked by a reporter not too long ago, how do you deal with people who are so far on the opposite end of the ideological spectrum from you, where you disagree maybe on 90%, 95%, 99% of things in a huge way? Where do you find that common ground? How do you talk to them? And my answer to him was by talking, by having a conversation. It seems ridiculously simple, and yet it doesn't happen nearly often enough. You saw Todd and John here just a few minutes ago. These are two people who put that into practice. But you would be surprised how many people who serve here automatically assume that, well, that person will have nothing in common with my agenda or my ideas, and therefore I'm not going to waste my time. I came here understanding the necessity of building relationships right off the bat, the necessity of having those conversations, and understanding that this is what our democracy is really about. We don't want to surround ourselves just with people who agree with us all the time and who blindly follow a path forward that someone has set in place. That the diversity of our ideas historically is what has brought our country to do some really incredible and amazing things, and that has allowed our country to lead in the world for so long. So I generally like to try to find the simplest answer first. Maybe it's my military training. The quickest path to your objective is oftentimes the best. So I went back to my upbringing in Hawaii, and an integral part of our culture is food. And so I thought, how can I make a lot of friends really, really fast coming here to Congress? And so I called my mother. She makes this incredible homemade Hawaiian macadamia nut toffee. And I asked her if she would make 435 boxes, 434, I didn't need any, boxes of this toffee. And she hesitated only for a second. She said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And I said, wait, can you also make an additional 435 bigger boxes of toffee for the staff of every member of Congress? Every single person here who has run or led any organization or team of any size know that our work is never possible without a great team. Yes. And we'll give that round of applause to the team that put this together. How about that? So as my mom was stirring 2 pots of candy simultaneously and pouring and hardening and wrapping the candy, I was writing personal notes and using an app on my phone called Congress in Your Pocket to learn a little bit about each of my new colleagues. And what was amazing is that I delivered these boxes of these little gifts of aloha to my colleagues, the incredible goodwill it generated immediately. I'm one person in a 2-member delegation from a very, very small state. I needed to make an impact quickly. Within the first month, I had people coming up to me who were chairmen or ranking members of appropriations, energy and commerce, the big committees here, saying, Tulsi, thank you so much. That meant so much to me. Tell me what the problems are in your district and how I can help. I passed my first piece of legislation that I introduced in a very short period of time, a bill that served disabled and severely wounded veterans coming home unanimously in the House, unanimously in the Senate, and the President signed it into law last August. These things happen. These things happen because I made friends that were authentic and real and not transactional, and coming in with a sincere desire to work together to be of service to the American people, to work together to really deliver real results, and recognize that as in life and in business and in family, same goes here. That only happens when you find common ground and you find areas of compromise. I'm going to introduce, is Erin here? I'm going to introduce my friend Erin. We were kicking each other's butt this morning in the gym. It's been a little while. It's the post-Thanksgiving first workout in the morning. Erin is someone who is not only my friend, but someone who I admire. He's someone who lives and practices what he preaches. I learn more and more about him every time we sit down and have lunch or dinner or coffee, and he is the real deal. He's someone who recognizes what it means to lead, what it means to find common ground, what it means to sincerely reach out to people, whether it's other members of Congress or the public, in order to do the job that he has been hired to do for his constituents and for our country. I'm very proud to call him a friend and a colleague, and without further ado, Erin Schock.